I think he broke a guy's ankles last week.
Welcome to My God a Podcast. I'm Jim Wood. In this episode, John Powell and I are joined by our friend Chris, who you may know as British Bulldawg on Twitter, to preview Georgia's matchup with Kent State. We also get to hear Chris's story about how he became a Georgia fan and his trek to Athens for this game, his first between the hedges. And we all answer questions from you, our listeners. As always, remember to check out store.mygodapodcast.com to see our latest merch. And you can follow us on social media at MyGodAPodcast. Finally, we'd love for all of you to come join us at Dog Central. That's DAWGS Central.com. Now, let's join the conversation in progress.
What's up, guys? we've got a special guest from across the pond. I actually have a special guest as well on my side too.
Oh, nice. I wonder how many people were able to guess based off of the hint that was dropped in the South Carolina review. Certainly, everyone we revealed it on Twitter this morning. So really happy to have our buddy Chris here. You know him as British Bulldawg on Twitter. A special occasion this week is he'll be venturing to Athens, Georgia for his first home Georgia game. So happy to have you with us, Chris.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you very much.
We finally get a name with the name with the face.
Yeah, I mean, we're used to the game day videos. It's become like a staple to get to watch those every Saturday morning. Love it. Yeah. Just to kind of go, I guess how we're going to go through this, it is the Kent State preview. I don't know how it will have so much to talk about with the game, and we knew you were coming, so we reached out and said, "Hey, your first game, would love to hear your story." Really, just ultimately about becoming a Georgia fan. I think it's also cool because kind of want to hear a little bit about that. But we can do our standard stuff, but maybe in an abbreviated version if that's cool.
Yeah, because we got a lot of questions.
We have a lot of questions.
Everybody wants to know about British Bulldawg.
Oh man. And I know it's late for you. It's late for you being on the other side of the pond. You're in the future from us. So
I'm tomorrow.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So actually, we do usually start off. I don't have a pop top, but I didn't even realize till just now that I had a screw top. So I've got and I do have a reasoning behind this because I know, Chris, when you started getting into bourbon, you actually asked us for some recommendations. Yeah. And this was one of the first recommendations we gave to you, but with a bit of a twist. So I've actually never had this. So this is the Maker's Mark 46, but French oaked. So never had that. So I'm about to have this for the first time.
Ooh, I'm curious about this one as well, Jim.
Yeah. So I don't have a cool sound effect though, because it's a screw top.
You just add it in post.
Right. Yeah, seriously. What do you guys have there? Or anything?
Oh. No, I've listened before.
Go first.
Yeah, I've listened before.
Yeah. Nice.
So I've got the Eagle Rare, which again is another one that you guys recommended, and it's delicious. It's very, very smooth. I understand it is actually quite hard to come by for you guys at the moment. I keep hearing that hard to find.
It is certainly for me.
It's for him.
Yeah, definitely for me it's hard.
It's fairly available here. That'll have to be something that you do when you're stateside, is to check out some of the local establishments.
I'll try my best, John.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess we could actually just kind of start there. So maybe just like a bit on the timing of your trip. So game obviously Saturday, but so when are you when do you start your journey?
So I leave here at 1:15 on Wednesday afternoon, and I'll be staying until Monday. So it's only 5 nights, which obviously booked this trip back in January, and I'm now realizing I need another week. There's awesome. So much to do. I've had so many recommendations. It gives me all the more reason to try and come back next year.
Nice. I mean, have you ever been to the US at all?
No, not at all.
Okay.
That's
Oh
time.
wow.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He's a British virgin. It's the British invasion.
Yeah.
Are you flying into Atlanta, I assume, or are you coming via JFK or anything like that?
Yeah, via JFK to Atlanta. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I'm kind of just hoping that my bag comes with me.
Right. Well, you know what? If it doesn't, then there's like excuse to buy lots of game day Georgia
That's
gear.
true. That's true.
Just kidding.
There are worse places to purchase than at the UGA bookstore.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. Well, I guess so that's I don't know, that's cool, and we can get into it a bit, I guess. But I do hopefully. So I'll be at the game. I'm planning to make the game. John is actually heading out
brilliant.
of town on
Okay.
vacation.
So
So yeah, so won't be there, but I'll be there, and I don't know. Hopefully, maybe some of our tailgate destinations will line up. So we'll have to iron that out as the week progresses.
Let me know. That sounds great.
Are you renting a car, or what's your transport situation?
No. So from Friday, I'll be downtown. I'll be staying near the sort of the stadium itself for 3 nights in an Airbnb. So I'm hoping to walk most places, or get an Uber.
Yeah. I
Very
mean,
nice.
Athens is very, very walkable. So
I would offer to drive you if I were in town.
That's very kind.
So I guess all right, why don't we run through our usual game stuff, and then
Okay.
I suspect we will well, we got the ton of listener questions, but then also just want to get through some specifics with you. But as it is the Kent State preview, we can run through the usual suspects on the matchup. So 12 o'clock kickoff in Sanford Stadium. So you do get to experience the noon kickoff. And so, there will be it gives you plenty of time to hang out after the game, which is, pros and cons, but that will be cool. You'll definitely get to experience like downtown Athens and all that stuff. So that's cool. So Kent State comes in at 1-2 on the year, 0-0 in the MAC. So we get some action with Georgia, have not played any conference games. But their two losses were to, some pretty tough competition. So what was it? Washington and Oklahoma, right? I think were their 2 losses. Am I getting that right?
No, you're right.
Okay. Yeah. So, so they have had a tough schedule thus far in the year. So the game it's a streaming only game actually. Or I guess maybe some folks may get SEC Network Plus through your cable provider, but so heads up on that. ESPN Plus and SEC Network Plus. Allegedly, the play-by-play announcer is Taylor Zarzour, who was allegedly the play-by-play last week. So I don't know. We'll see if it's actually him this time, because that did not happen what we saw. But it does look like Matt Stinchcomb will be there as the analyst, and then Tara Talmadge as the sideline reporter. I'm not familiar with her either. The official hashtag, as we always go over, is hashtag Kent versus UGA. And Chris, I got to tell you, man, it looks like you're in for a Chamber of Commerce day, high of 82 with clear skies. So should be a beautiful day in Athens, Georgia. So that'll be perfect. And then we have played these guys before. So Georgia leads the all-time series 1-0. Which brings us to our fun facts that I mentioned that I had something / a story. Now, I did send you guys the official game notes. So some of this is kind of in there. But so the only time we've ever played them was 1998 in the season opener. And so something that I tried to make a little bit of a tie here for you, Chris. Your first game, your overall first game in Sanford Stadium is going to be against Kent State. The Kent State Golden Flashes, which, by the way, John, we were correct when we randomly mentioned that. That
you
is
were
the mascot.
correct.
I was correct. Okay, fine. So that'll be your first game. That was my first game as a student, actually. So my freshman year of college, my first game as a student was that Kent State game in 1998. So little similarity there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my connection. And actually, Kirby Smart was on that team. So that was Kirby
Yeah.
Smart's senior
Mm-hmm.
year, which I know he got some questions about that in his press conference. So that was my fun fact there. And then I guess my little bit of trivia is Kent State does have a pretty famous alumnus that played football
Uh-huh.
there. If anyone knows who that is.
It's Nick Saban.
Here we go. Nice. Ding, ding, ding. Well done.
Wow. Flexing out of the gate. I like it.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So that was that's all I had for the fun facts for them. Moving on to the news and notes. Something that John, we forgot to mention in the last episode is that Georgia is now the consensus number one team in the country. I believe it was only in the AP poll before this week, and now we're number one in both the AP and the coaches poll. And then I did listen to Kirby's press conference today. I didn't hear a whole lot in there other than a lot of, this is a really good team and everyone needs to take notice, etc. He talked a lot about their quarterback, which we can get to. But the two things, I guess, just status updates, program updates. So it does look like William Poole's career at Georgia is over, unfortunately. So he's left the team to focus on a personal matter. So we wish him the best. No idea what's going on there. Hopefully everything is all right with him and his family. And then the other thing was that Kirby is hopeful that AD Mitchell will be back for this week. So as we know, that means AD Mitchell will not be back this week because hopeful is the Kirby kiss of death.
The Kirby kiss of death.
Yeah, exactly. So, yep. So that was it there. I mean, I don't know if we for the we usually kind of analyze, right? Like when Georgia has the ball and when Kent State has the ball and those kinds of things. I mean, we could go through that a bit if you guys want. I don't know, Chris, even actually, I don't know. Let's ask you this is your first time you're going to be able to come and see these guys in person. What are you hoping to see when Georgia takes the field, when Georgia's out there on offense? Is there anything you're excited to see?
Do you know what? They played so well in their last game. I just want to see them bring it all together and just absolutely destroy them.
Yes. Amazing.
I'm here for a good old fashioned American beatdown.
Is there any like particular I don't know, any particular player that you're most excited to see, like kind of what they look like in person out there on the field? Maybe trying to, I don't know, just it's always different seeing any sport really, right, in person versus on TV. Anyone you're kind of looking forward to see out there?
Yeah, totally. I really want to see Brock Bowers. Like he's only in his second year, and it seems that he can do everything. He's like a running back, a tight end, a wide receiver.
Yeah.
He's got no weakness.
Yeah. That's a good one.
I concur.
Yeah, right.
As the South Carolina's defensive backs.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, no, we got into a debate, or not a debate, but a discussion as to like, could Brock Bowers play running back? And I think we pretty much definitively said if he wanted to, he definitely could.
He could probably play safety if he wanted to.
Oh yeah, let him do what he wants.
Yeah. I mean, he's got the speed. I mean, he could play linebacker for sure. I would say linebacker, safety. Yeah, he can do whatever. Cool. That's awesome. No, yeah, I that's a good one to watch out for. I would say also just the physical presence that is Darnell Washington is also cool to see. And actually, on that note, one thing we'll kind of bounce around a bit here. I guess I would definitely recommend. I don't know where your seats are, but before the game, I would recommend like kind of coming in and getting down close to the field, maybe during warmups. You can just kind of walk around the track, like outside. You can kind of walk around outside of the hedges down there. Would definitely recommend that. You want to go down and get close to the hedges.
100%. Yeah,
right.
I'll be doing that.
Yeah, for sure. So you can do that. And then you can kind of see, if you're up there while they're, when they're doing a walkthrough or warmups or anything like that, you could definitely check that out.
Uga might be down there too.
True. Oh yeah,
I'd like
definitely
that.
gotta.
Yeah.
We gotta see if we can get a British Bulldog with Ugga photo op going on. We gotta.
Yeah. And
Well,
if
if you,
anyone is listening who can make that happen, I'm here for it.
Yes, for sure.
I have a feeling Hug Dog might be able to help him out with some of that.
We'll have
Okay.
to let's talk about that. I'll just add, for Kent State, just something to look at. So their top two leading tacklers are their safeties in Nico Bolden and JoJo Evans. So I guess just watch out for that. Although, these guys they've had a tough they've had a tough road this far this year, and it's not going to get any easier on Saturday for them. JP, you got anything you're going to be looking for on offense on Saturday?
Well, I'm going to be looking for swiftly arriving at our destination at the beach. I'm going to be
Sure.
I'm going to be on pins and needles with our departure time. I'll probably be watching this thing on delay once again.
Yeah.
Just because of the logistics of everything going on.
Right.
But yeah, I agree with British Bulldog here that we should expect to see a beatdown. And I'm going to be looking for specifically if Stetson can keep that 250 yards, passing, one touchdown, one rushing, or whatever. To see if he
that
can
was one of the questions.
Yep.
Oh yeah. I think that was the wasn't that the stat that who had brought that up? It was, I think that was like the evil Scott Cochran, the Coach Twitter account. Wasn't that a similar stat? Or no, his was the Bryce Young comparison.
Yeah. No, that was the Patrick Mahomes.
That's right.
The image that ESPN threw out there that I just got a huge kick out of.
Right.
So I would love for Stetson to continue to be compared with Patrick Mahomes for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Aside from that, we'll get to the scores, score predictions and all that kind of jazz. Like, I just look at their schedule and who they've played, and I don't know, man. I don't know what Vegas is thinking with the spread here and what the predicted score is going to be. Like,
yeah,
a big thing is going to be, are we going to shut them out, right? So that's another thing I'll be looking for from the defense is, can they hold them to no touchdowns again?
Yeah,
and I think they'll be playing angry after conceding that one last week.
I love it for sure.
That's true,
for sure.
I didn't get to do my drink introduction, but my special guest is in honor of our.
Okay, it's a blended Scotch whiskey. I can see.
Yep, it's Duncan Taylor. It's a blended Scotch whiskey, 12 years.
Nice.
Get a little Scotch.
Nice. Nice.
It's basically a very similar to Johnny Walker Black.
Okay, I'm
a big fan of it. It's good.
Sorry, I got so excited because we've got British Bulldog on, and I skipped over your drink, John. Sorry.
It's okay. That's okay.
That's awesome. I would say the only thing I'm curious to see on offense is, does Dejon Edwards get into the game earlier? Because I really want to see what he can do. If he gets to get out there, I don't know, like earlier in the game, like behind with the ones, and see that a little bit more volume. I'm curious to see if any of that happens. So that's what I'll be watching for. But as we started to pivot to the defense, agreed. I love that. I love your comment of like playing angry because like we tweeted out, right? Yeah, I mean we tweeted out like how mad are you that we gave it the touchdown, right? I know a lot of folks were.
Were you yelling at the TV and all of your friends were like, mate, why are you fussed over the American football?
Absolutely.
They just scored a touchdown.
Yeah, you can't have any of that happen. I mean, I will say we can kind of throw out some names. So Colin Schlee is Kent State's quarterback. So he is 33-55 for 508 yards, 3 touchdowns and 2 picks though. So Kirby talked him up a lot in his press conference today, around him being a dual threat. So we'll see there. He is He's the second leading rusher on the team as well, yardage wise. So he's got 24 carries for 177 yards. Whereas their leading rusher has 180 yards. So he's right there behind the leading rusher. So a couple of guys to look for from Kent State. But I agree. I expect to see Georgia out there like pretty much playing angry on defense and seeing if we can preserve a shutout, right?
Yeah, I think they scored 63 last week, Kent State.
They did. Against, and you know what? It was funny. I'm blanking on who the school was. It was
the Long Island University Sharks.
Nice. Sharks. Yeah, yes. So good. Okay, I was about to say Long Island, but I was like hesitant because I was like, I don't even know that knew they had a school.
So, yeah,
no, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. They poured it on. They took out their frustrations of having to play Washington and Oklahoma. They took that out on LIU. Yeah. But that was the thing that Kirby was very much just like, these guys have had, a super difficult schedule. So, you guys in the media aren't going to believe me, but they're good.
I would say they've had the toughest schedule so far.
Oh, it's I mean, that is like murderer's row. I think they earned getting to play Long Island after having to play Washington and Oklahoma, and like for them, I think they were both away games, and I think their travel was kind of crazy. Like I'm pretty sure they were gone for like 2 weeks. If they played at Washington, I don't think they went back home. I think they came from Washington basically, then into Oklahoma, played them, and then went home. So it was like a true like road trip for these guys. Which is kind of crazy. Yeah, it's kind of unusual. So
I guess they have the back half of their schedule sets up for like a nice little local tour. They got Ohio, they got Miami, Ohio, Toledo, Akron, Ball State, Bowling Green. So
they
don't have to travel too far later in the season. They get their paycheck at the beginning of the season.
Right. Right. Seriously. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't have a whole lot to analyze about these guys, but hopefully, it'll be pretty similar to that 1998 game, where I do remember that one, like the third play of the game as like Quincy Carter threw a bomb to Champ Bailey. So maybe on the third play, you'll get a mailman to Brock Bowers. Pretty quickly, do something like that. Well, I don't know if not to be dismissive, and we'll come back and do some specific things about the game as well at the end with our predictions and everything. But anything else? I don't have any special teams notes this week, but I definitely wanted to have plenty of time to spend with you and just hearing your story. But anything else on this game either of you guys had? Otherwise, we can probably move on.
I guess. How about we parlay that? I mean, I don't, unless you do, Chris.
No,
but we.
No.
What I was going to say was we could parlay that into the conversation with you. Like, you're coming over here first time.
Yeah.
Wow, we should all feel honored that your first trip is going to be getting to Atlanta and head straight to Athens, basically. But yeah, so. What are you expecting? What are you hoping to glean from the tailgate experience, etc.? Like, is there pageantry beforehand that you're looking forward to? Like what?
Yeah. I mean, this is sort of part of the whole reason why I love Georgia so much. It's the tradition and the sort of passion of the fans. So when people ask me if I'm looking for one thing in particular, I have to say no. I'm looking for everything. I'm looking for the dog walk, the tailgate. The trumpet, everything. I can't wait.
That's awesome. The funny thing is the trumpet thing is like, it's something that it feels like it has always been there. But it actually started when John and I were in school. And I'll say even the first time they did it, it felt like it had always been there. Like it was one of those moments where you're like, have I always missed this? Like, have I been getting to the stadium late? Like, because this is awesome. It just felt natural.
If you link up with the tailgates and you happen upon Kurt, Jim, if you see Kurt and he's around, like make sure Chris gets in touch with Kurt, because Kurt's seats, I believe, are right behind the trumpeter.
No way.
Nice.
Because he's posted multiple videos
Yeah.
in that vicinity, from what I recall. Sorry if I misspoke, Kurt, but I believe that his seats are right near there.
So I guess I was so I don't know, John. This may be just still your question. Actually, it's kind of related to one of our listeners' questions. I guess we could kind of. I guess I'll just ask her question from Catherine, and this is kind of like what John. You always like to you always like to ask our guests that we have on, kind of like, what's your Georgia story? And I feel like you're going to have a bit of a more unique one. And it's not too unfamiliar for us, right? Because we do have, there are plenty of Premier League soccer fans in the US, right? So I'm in my head, I kind of think of it like that way. I mean, you're cheering for something that doesn't exist where you're at. But I guess even like not even necessarily, I guess so your Georgia story, the way Catherine asked it was, what drew you to Georgia football? So I definitely want to know that, but I'm also curious what drew you to American football, period.
American football has got massive here in the last few years. The NFL have done an amazing job of promoting the NFL, and they have the games at Wembley and at Tottenham Hotspur every single year. So it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger in the UK, as well as sort of Europe. I know it's massive in Germany as well. And so in terms of getting into college football, so my journey came from starting with the NFL. I had friends who loved the NFL, a few sort of fanatical NFL fans, friends who are fans of the NFL, and I enjoyed it. I liked it, but I couldn't really connect. Sort of the way sort of a British or sort of European sports fan gets into a sport is quite tribal. You'll know, being a Manchester United fan, John, that those fans hate each other. It's that's your team, and it's sort of dyed in the wool. That's your team. But with the NFL, those teams move from city to city to city. So where's the authenticity in that? As good of a product as it is, it's not altogether authentic. So I came across college football just by accident one day on TV. I didn't really even know it existed, and I sort of became obsessed with College Game Day.
Nice.
What are these Yanks getting on about?
Yeah, a big Lee Corso fan.
Oh man, Corso, what a sad story that is.
I know.
He's gotten old.
He has. But he's old, and he's still right though. I don't know if you remember last year. He got it all right.
That is true.
So getting into game day, I sort of learned a bit more about college football, and I can see the sort of the true passion of the game, of what it is. And that's where I came across Georgia. So this is sort of towards the end of Mark Richt's time. We're talking about sort of 2014, maybe not the glory years.
Wow! Hold up. Time out. You got enamored with Georgia football in 2014. God bless you.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
But I mean, you could see the tradition and the passion that goes with, that team in particular, but all the teams in the South of America. That it's more than a game. It's just people's lives, and it was absolutely amazing for me to watch. And I sort of got into passion and tradition of Georgia, but also the way they played. And you're sort of saying that it wasn't peak time, but you had players like Chubb, Michelle, Gurley, all sort of Chubb and Michelle coming through at that point, and just entertaining to watch. Obviously, things have just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely that again, some of the things we've tended to talk about, like those teams, they didn't lack talent, and they didn't lack personalities either, right? I mean, Gurley's a good personality.
Yeah.
So that was it was certainly a fun team. So okay, so was 2014 when you got was the game day thing in 2014, and like you are immediately drawn to Georgia, or what was the progression there? I guess. Or like, so you discover game day and like maybe they're talking about Georgia. Was it like a Georgia? Sometimes there's like a feature story. And you're like, ooh, that's relatable or something like that.
It must have been something like that. It must have been a feature on like Sony Michel and Nick Chubb coming through as a sort of freshman running backs. And I think Gurley, he was sort of suspended for the sort of.
You picked you picked a drama filled season actually to start watching. Yeah, that was the year he got suspended.
Was that when we played Clemson at home?
Yes.
And maybe game day was there for the opening week?
Must have been it. Yeah, that must have been the trigger.
They could have been there. I'm going to say I was at that game. Whether game day was there that day or not, I'm not sure. But I wouldn't be surprised considering that was, that was one of those mega season opener games, right?
Yeah. Like, I mean, Gurley rushed for almost 200 yards in that game. I'm going back and looking at the schedule, trying to see like when.
Well, and he got a kickoff return for a touchdown in that game too. Like he was like Mr. Everything in that game.
Yeah.
Man, if that was your first game you watched, like again, like that was a heck of a game because you had like everything. And like, you really saw like Georgia was doing what Georgia has historically done in that game. Like we call Georgia tailback university, and like and like you had Gurley was running all over him. We had true freshman Nick Chubb literally running out of his shoes, and scored a touchdown in one cleat and one sock. That's pretty cool. So like, I mean, I guess I would say, I guess I'm assuming grew up like a bigger soccer fan. Like I know you guys are, I mean, you're a Manchester United fan as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was was that always like your number one, I guess, as far as fandom? As far as like sports fandom, was that your number one sport to watch?
I mean, you grow up with that in this country. You have sticker books and you collect the stickers for the Premier League teams. It's sort of ingrained from an early age, the Premier League here.
Yeah. Okay. Which is basically how we are. I mean, I've always heard, and so like full disclosure, like I'm not as big into the Premier League. John has tried to help get me into soccer. I got more into it when my daughter started playing, and then when Atlanta had Atlanta United. And I've got a really close old buddy that works with Atlanta United, so that kind of got me going there. But I definitely see the similarities between, like you were saying, like the similarities between college football and the Premier League. Like I can get that. Like and so like I have actually I think we have a list of questions. I won't spoil that, but like I've wondered like about some of those similarities. One thing we didn't get a question that I always hear is people are like, man, what if college football had relegation? Like, can you imagine?
Yeah.
It would be amazing.
Yeah, you get relegated to the Sun Belt. I mean,
yeah, or you get knocked down to D2.
Yeah. That would be crazy.
That's the equivalent. That would be the equivalent, basically.
Right. So we got all we I'm all over the place, but because I have so many questions.
We are all over the place.
Where
I'm right there with you
because I am blanking even on like, so like just for you, like where you live. I'm horrible at geography. Full disclosure, we always say we were told there'd be no math. I need no geography, but I don't even. I'm blanking right now, like where you are exactly.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I live in Edinburgh in Scotland.
Okay.
Is that where
I'm originally?
Yeah, I was going to say where you're originally.
No. This isn't a Scottish accent. So I'm originally from down south, southwest of England. I moved up here about 10 years ago, and my accent has kind of stuck. Yeah, I've not become Scottish just yet. Although my fiance is Scottish, and she likes to take the mickey out of my accent quite a lot.
That's funny. If you're not from like Greater Manchester, how did you become not to get too deviated from the UGA football podcast, but like, how did you become a Man United fan? Because like, being a Man United fan in England is the equivalent of being like a Yankees fan in USA.
Exactly. So in the 90s, Manchester United were the team. There was no one else winning anything. My uncle is a supporter, so I can use that as a sort of I can say it's a family thing, but really, I grew up watching players like Eric Cantona, and you'd watch players just with this sort of flair and the skill. And there's only really one team for me from that point onwards.
That's awesome. Yeah, I have a similar story with Man United. My uncle was a big soccer player. He played at Berry College here in Georgia. And I remember him watching the games and watching the World Cup. And I'm like, what's this game you're watching? And I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So from the age of 12, I decided that I would follow his team, which was Manchester United. And back then it was in the 90s. And so that's what I grew up on was Manchester United in the 90s. And so now when people say like, why are you a Man United fan? The Americans always pull for the winners and stuff. And it's like,
there's a lot of Manchester City fans all of a sudden. I've noticed that.
Yeah, it's weird. Like Logan Booker is a big City supporter. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. Like, had you heard of them before the last few years? But yeah. I agree, man. Like the college football is very similar to, is very similar to the EPL. Like I always try to, whenever people talk to me about soccer or, they say, oh man, soccer sucks or whatever, like, or, tell me more about it. I don't know what's going on with all these teams that I see on, now the games are on, in the mornings, here you could spend the entire morning watching EPL on NBC and USA, like it's on multiple channels, just like ESPN. So I always try to correlate like what people are used to hearing here. So I always like to ascribe baseball fans like, hey, Manchester United is kind of like the Atlanta Braves. I always think they're like the Atlanta Braves because they, at least from the time period that I grew up in, it was all about youth and kids rising through the ranks.
Yeah.
The Braves did the same thing back in the 90s as well. So like that's how I always kind of ascribe them. They didn't go out and buy the players like you do nowadays, but like the Yankees did. So I always thought that the Braves and Manchester United were kind of corollary in that regard. But from a UGA's fans perspective, I always look at City, like Man City is like the Georgia Tech rivalry, right? At least it had been. Now, more recently, it's kind of more like the Georgia Florida rivalry, maybe. But like, I would say that Liverpool is kind of in that Florida Tennessee kind of vein for me.
Yeah.
So that's how I always kind of describe to people as like, yeah, I mean, it's the same kind of stuff. Like everybody has their localities and that's how you correlate it to people like, okay, I get it.
Well, I think the multiple rivalries too, like you just kind of started rattling all that off. Like it is also regional, right? And you end up with like you have your main rival, but then you've got the other ones kind of interspersed. I think Georgia is a great example of it's like, it's hard to pick who someone thinks is the biggest rival, which actually I'd love to ask you that. So from your perspective, who do you think of if someone asks you, on the street, you're wearing a Georgia shirt, someone walks up, and first off, they're probably like nice Packers shirt. I don't think
why is it red?
Right? You're like, colors, come on. But like, I don't know. I'll just ask you. So to you, who do you see as Georgia's biggest rival?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's Alabama. Clearly, it's the team that have broken our heart the most in recent times.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised you said that. I mean, like, I don't think that's a wrong answer.
The tradition is Auburn, and obviously you've got Florida as well. But Alabama are the team that have just sort of every single year for a long time they would just hurt us.
Yeah. This is where like you would be shocked to hear like me talk about Georgia Tech so much because you're like Georgia Tech, like whatever.
Yeah.
But he's probably like the way that he would probably think about it, like Leeds. It's like Leeds United now, like Leeds and Man United. They're just an afterthought at this point.
So irrelevant. Yeah.
So 2014, you start following college football, and it sounds like you pretty right in the same time frame, kind of latch on to Georgia initially. Like you pick your team right away. So I guess my next question is when does the British Bulldawg Twitter account start? And was that always it, or did you change your handle? Did you already have Twitter?
No.
I'm curious about this.
I mean, this is so ridiculous. When I first started my Twitter account, it was called Georgia Bulldog Fans UK.
Okay, nice.
I feel like I remember this handle.
Yeah, and it turns out there's about 5 of us, so I had to change it. Yeah.
Okay.
I am absolutely shocked that British Bulldog was not taken by Davy Boy Smith.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he is dead, to be fair, John.
Well, I mean, before.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
But when did you get onto Twitter? Because I know I'm trying to think even for me, I don't even know. I think like 2009 ish is or so. Like, did you have it before? Let me ask you this: what came first, Twitter or like college football?
Oh, good question. Good question. I must have had a personal account, which I probably didn't use for years and years and years.
Okay.
And then I sort of started this Georgia Bulldog fans at UK account,
right?
Which got absolutely no traction. Probably, I think that must have been at 2017. I'm not entirely sure when I started the page. Mm-hmm.
I would say because I mean I've been following you for a while, and I feel like I remember you back then.
Yeah.
When did the weekly videos start?
No, that just started last year.
Okay.
And you know, I'm not even sure what possessed me to make those videos, but they took off.
Yeah, man, for sure.
And it's a direct result of sort of making those videos and sort of selling these t-shirts that I've been able to make this trip. Yeah,
that is cool. Let's talk about that, because that was one of the things that I saw, and I always love that comment in there that the Cheerio and Go Dogs t-shirts are there to fund the trip. Yeah. Which let's plug that really quick. Where if someone wants a Cheerio and Go Dogs t-shirt, where do they go?
There is a link at the top of my Twitter feed, but if you even just Google Cheerio and Go Dog t-shirts, you'll find them.
Amazing. but make sure you're getting the authentic British Bulldog ones, not the bots. I saw what you responded and said the bots come in. That is crazy.
That's the only reason I started selling them. I actually made that first t-shirt as a bit of a joke. Just I'd sort of come up with a funny expression, playing on the fact that I'm a British Georgia Bulldog fan, and I made this t-shirt. And I made a video, and I sort of immediately, these bots from nowhere, and I don't know how they found me, started trying to sell them on my behalf. And as you know, if someone's going to make money out of those t-shirts, I'd rather it was me.
Right. Yeah. Seriously. Seriously.
Fair enough. Yeah. Seriously. What does anybody locally give you any shtick about that? Because the Brits that I know are like, man, nobody says Cheerio.
No. I mean, most people I've spoken to about it seem to think it's pretty cool, to be fair.
I mean, it is very cool from my perspective.
Oh yeah,
it's just funny.
I don't know. Maybe it's because you're in Scotland. Maybe that helps.
Well, yeah.
I'm like, full disclosure, I'm trying to like pretend that I'm worldly. I'm horrible. I'm too much of a homebody. I have not been across that ocean either. So I definitely got to do it eventually. I hope to someday. Wimbledon is on my bucket list, so I'll get there eventually.
I would add the Theater of Dreams to your bucket list, Jim. Speaking of, have you been to a Man United game?
Yeah, plenty of games. I think the last one was a few years ago. It's kind of hard to get tickets sometimes to Old Trafford, but it's one of those places where you need to know somebody who's got a season ticket, and you end up going to the games that aren't so good. But I'd recommend a trip to Stretford End for you, Jim. I think you'd really enjoy it.
Nice. Yeah, seriously.
Nice.
You can be. We're going to scoop you up as a Man United fan before Logan gets you on City.
Well, let's remember, I do own a Manchester United jersey. So, Chris, just so you know,
you're halfway there.
Once upon a time, I worked at Aon, and they gave
that's right. I forgot.
They gave everyone in the company a jersey.
Nice.
Like the year when they became the principal sponsor. So I do have one. So like I'm a kind of a de facto Manchester United fan. I tried to like say I was a Newcastle fan when they got Almiron, but that didn't really stick.
Hey.
So
yeah.
Which, although it didn't, isn't that where Eels is going? We've now just turned into a Premier League podcast, but
we really are.
Isn't that where Darren Eels is going? He just left Atlanta United. Didn't he go to Newcastle?
He is.
Did I make that up? Okay. We'll continue.
He's going to be the either chief executive or chairman. I can't remember. Chris.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was
basically
our,
the same role that he had at Everton.
okay, which is where he came to Atlanta United from.
I think he came from Everton.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
That or Tottenham. Did he come from Tottenham? Maybe it was Tottenham.
I don't know. Okay. Well, why don't we hit back to the listener questions and then we can veer off again if needed. But so next one up we've got is from Dwight. Although I need to ask Dwight next time I see him exactly. Dwight, let me know exactly how I'm supposed to pronounce your Twitter handle. I'm assuming it's Dog, but I've never even asked him. But I just saw him like 2 weeks ago. But anyways, so Dwight asks, "What is British Bulldog's favorite current dog?" Who's your favorite player on the team right now?
I mean, other than Brock Bowers, it's Stetson Bennett. That's everyone's favorite player, surely.
Yeah, it should be. You would think.
Bless your heart.
And now we will dissect UGA fandoms.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you would hope.
Yeah, like John, I think you said last time, the Stetson haters have retreated into the bushes like Homer Simpson.
As you'll find, there's a lot more Stetson jerseys this year than there were last year.
For now, and I think we all had our doubts, didn't we? But based on his size and the fact that he was a walk on, and he would sometimes make sort of rash passes, but so far this year, given a chance to be number one from the off season, he's been incredible.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, you're spot on. I mean, he's been lights out. It's fun to watch him, man. He's fun to watch, and like
I think he broke a guy's ankles last week.
It was 6s and 7s.
Oh my gosh, he absolutely did. Holy cow, what a cut! I mean, and that's Stickwavius. That's when he becomes Stickwavius, and he does that. And holy cow, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yes. Okay, perfect answer. Love that. Okay, so on that note, Dwight had a second question. Will Stetson have another 250-yard passing and one or more rushing touchdown game? That's that stat that we keep following.
That's that. Yes,
that's the Mahomes stat, right?
That's the Mahomes stat. What do you think, Chris?
I think he surely has to against Kent State. The only sort of thing that might deny him that is if they're doing so well that he doesn't play in the sort of the second half, sort of third quarter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. I think that's fair. That's the reason to worry about lofty numbers for an individual in a game like this, for sure.
Well, we said that in the preview episode, right? Like,
yeah,
like most of the Heisman hype is centered around the fact of whether or not Stetson, you see these comparisons like CJ Stroud and Bryce Young and Stetson Bennett, who are by and large basically the three, like according to Vegas, the three quarterbacks most likely to win the Heisman, right? And you see their stats, and it's like, well, Stetson's he's put up pretty similar numbers to CJ Stroud, which is probably in a similar boat. But I haven't followed Ohio State's situation, but he's only played a couple of quarters in every single game, so like he's really limiting his production. But that said, like I do feel like that we've turned a little bit of a page with Kirby Smart, because he's letting Stetson throw. I didn't expect him to throw for 250 yards and run
not against Sanford. Not against Sanford.
Run it, right? Yeah. I mean, he seems to be allowing Stetson to basically have his swan song.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true. I like that.
And frankly, he's enhancing the soon to be produced Disney movie.
Yeah.
For sure.
Did you guys expect him to come back this year?
Yes,
man,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. So
we talked about this.
Yeah, but I got worried.
The kid is living his life.
Yeah, but that wasn't my concern.
He's not going to be drafted. Like there's not a whole lot of like significant value that the NFL would have had for him last year. So of course, and he had a freebie year. Dude, the kid is Georgia through and through. His his family is all about Georgia. Like his brother is now coming to Georgia. We talked about this. We did. But that's what he's going to do.
Yeah, I'm trying to put my January 11th, 2022 hat on And my only concern was the bourbon infused interview that he gave the morning after the national championship when he got asked that question, and he said something about like, I need some assurances before I'm going to come back or something like that.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, he wants to know. He wants to know if he's going to be the starter.
Yeah. I was worried that, he was going to say like, I want to be the starter. And Kirby was going to say like, we don't do that. You have to win the job. And then like, he was going to, who knows? He could have transferred. He could have ridden off in the sunset, and I wouldn't have blamed him. But from a heart perspective, I'm a sucker for a good story, and he's such a good story. The pictures of him as a kid wearing Georgia stuff, on the field with his dad. I mean, like, you can't. If someone wrote the movie of what happened, you wouldn't believe it. It's incredible. So I'm thrilled that he came back, but I guess I wanted him to, but I wasn't 100% sure, especially on January 11th. John,
speaking of the British connection and how the games have been translated across the pond, Notre Dame has come across the pond for multiple games thus far, like the last few years or whatever.
Yeah, you go to Dublin.
The Stetson Bennett story is going to be a better story than Rudy.
Yeah. Seriously. Yeah. I mean, all Rudy did was get a sack against Georgia Tech. I mean, what does that even mean?
Exactly. All we could do is put Stetson in against Georgia Tech and let him get a sack, and then it'll be just like a dunk on Notre Dame again.
It's amazing. All right, well, so I've got some question groupings, and this is where we lean back into the fact that we're a Premier League podcast for this episode.
Sure.
So Jimmy Duncan asks, if Georgia football was a Premier League team, which team would it be and why?
Well, I know the obvious answer to this, but I want to see what John thinks.
Oh, you want to hear my answer? Well, I kind of already I tipped my hand on it, but in my opinion, Georgia is kind of like Manchester United, because Manchester United invested in the youth, and we kind of rose through the ranks. Like that's Stetson Bennett, man. That's Stetson.
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion. Like that's like all about UGA is about investing in the youth, and the University of Georgia is about protecting the state of Georgia with recruits. Like that's kind of my opinion on things. Like we want Georgia boys to stay home, and we want the kids that grew up rooting for Manchester United, kids that grew up through the academy at Manchester United. Like that to me is like just the quintessential. I've always compared Georgia and Manchester United when it comes to like trying to correlate college football and things like that.
So the only thing that Man United need to do is sort of echo some of Georgia's success.
I agree, man. And you and I both agree on this regard, but it all comes down to the head coach. And, I think that, if you were looking at some of the other teams throughout the years or whatever, like, the Mark Richt years were a little bit different than the Kirby Smart years. And let's just say the David Moyes years were a little bit different than the Alex Ferguson years.
Yeah, of course. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what do you got, Chris? Who's yours?
I like John's answer. I wish it was true, but I think sadly, I think Georgia are probably the equivalent of Liverpool, a team that was, successful in the 80s and 70s, or sort of that sort of period, and then didn't do very much for quite a long time. Mm-hmm. And it's only now that they've got a sort of an inspirational leader, they've got amazing recruitment, that they're getting the success in it. And so it pains me to say that as a Man United fan, but I think Georgia are the sort of the Liverpool.
So on the Twitter feeds, I mentioned in some of the replies here that I would add the caveat that it really just depends on what time period you're talking about. If you're talking about today, this is why I threw the vomiting emoji, was if we're talking about today, like literally like right now today, I actually think that UGA is more like Manchester City, because we literally have all of the players. We went out and just grabbed all of the 5-star talent that we could acquire. And then we acquired an entire secondary roster that could also defeat everybody
Can I make a Premier League joke? And then I'm going to try to make a Premier League joke. And can I say that? But we did it without oil money. Is that a decent Premier League joke?
That's quite good.
Okay.
We did it without oil money, but we did it with I don't know, insurance money. I don't know. Yeah, no. I would say like right now, like I feel like that City is more like it. If you were talking about a few years ago, like back in 2017, that definitely would have been in the Liverpool vein. But back in the Mark Richt era, that's why I was saying like back in the Mark Richt era, like I do feel like that's more of like an Alex Ferguson situation because we were hot a few years and we were dominating, but we just couldn't get over the hump to beat the Real Madrids and the Barcelonas of that time period.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair. I'm not going to add anything because I know nothing, but I did add at least one joke. So I feel you guys laughed at my Premier League joke, so I'm feeling very good. Let's see. What else do we have here? Oh yeah. So Jimmy had another question. Just what is the college football watching experience like across the pond? So like, are you even able to like watch at home? Are you going to watch online? Do you go to a pub? Like, what's the deal there?
Yeah, they definitely can't go to a pub. Most of the games are sort of in the early hours of the morning. You know, people in Georgia will be complaining about a midday kickoff. But for me, it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That is perfect.
Yeah, right.
That's perfect. Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel about. That's how I feel about some of the later games in the UK. It's like
absolutely. So it can be a bit of a lonely experience, especially if you're sort of watching a game at 1 o'clock in the morning, which is sort of part of the reason why I have that Twitter account. You're not alone if you're sort of sharing your opinions about what's going on with the whole world, are you?
Right. So is like honest question, like are the games on TV or like do you have to stream? Like do you have to have like a funky streaming package or anything? Or
there's a few different ways. So ESPN for a long time had a sort of a deal with a sort of a British broadcaster called BT, and it was BT ESPN, but I think that's now sort of changed its name. They do show some college football, so you can, if you're lucky, get some stuff live there. Okay. Otherwise, you're looking at sort of the ESPN player or like a VPN or something like that to try and get.
VPN is very much involved.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Okay. Cool.
It's a lot like I would hearken it to very much like what it was like for me back in like the early 2000s. Where I would either settle for watching the replay at 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. or whatever, like, and or just watching the actual broadcast replay in the middle of the day when, like Jim back in the fraternity house, Mooney would always complain that he would come home and I'd be watching Manchester United.
Oh, nice. I wouldn't know about that because, like, as you make fun of me, you say that I was never at the house, which is fair.
Exactly.
I wanted to add from Jimmy. He just added a comment for you, Chris. So he said, "Glad to have you in Athens on Saturday, and maybe our paths will cross on game day." And then he said, "Cheers, and go Ducks." So that was how he signed off. So, let's see. All right, from John Michael D. What does British Bulldog and you guys as well think of Ted Lasso?
Oh, it's a great show. I love Ted Lasso. That's like a hug of a TV show. Just watching that makes you feel good.
It is a hug.
Agreed. I love it. I actually got into it like before it was a show. It basically was an ad campaign for the Premier League when NBC in the United States got the Premier League. So a lot of the stuff from the first season was actually scenes from the initial skit. There was basically an ad and they like made an entire show out of it. So like the whole, which got back to when you guys were doing the analogies earlier of like this team is like that team. All I could think of was that Ted Lasso skit because he's trying to learn like what the various teams are analogous to NFL teams, and like everyone was the Cowboys. Basically, he was like Cowboys, and he's like also Cowboys.
Also Cowboys.
Awesome. Okay, so
I love Ted Lasso.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I guess we didn't even answer it. I love it. So JP, are you current? Have you guys both seen? I guess both the seasons were through. Okay. Cool.
Yep, I'm current. I wish that they would just continue cranking them out. I have a feeling that Jason Sudeikis is probably going to get tired of that character in short order.
I think they're filming season 3 right now, is what I heard. So I will welcome it. I love it. It's a great show. It's a great show.
Do you think it's going to be around in 6 years?
I don't know if there's that long to tell.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Enjoy it. Enjoy it while it lasts. Everything's cyclical. Okay. Georgia's on top of the mountain right now. Like, enjoy it.
Yeah,
because
these are the good old days.
As British Bulldog and I can attest, the mountaintop is great, but on the way down is awful.
Yeah.
Fair. Let's see. John Michael D also had, which currently unemployed former head coach is most likely to be an analyst for Kirby before the season is over?
That's a good question. Mm-hmm.
Chris, you go first.
Oh, do you know what? I would quite like to see Ed, and I'll probably mispronounce his surname, Ed Orgeron.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In some capacity, he's a likable guy, knows his stuff.
Can you imagine Ed Orgeron, Kirby Smart, and Will Muschamp? all recruiting at the exact same time, and Glenn Schumann. Can you imagine all 4 of those guys? That would be amazing. That would be flat out phenomenal. That's a great answer.
Yeah, that had not come across my mind. I'll say that.
Didn't even think about that. Yeah.
I will say, of the guys that have been let go this season, I'm not sure that I would pick anyone. I was trying to think of fired coaches. I don't see Scott Frost or say Herm Edwards coming over.
No.
So yeah, I'll stick with the Edo. I like that one.
How about we just pivot, just tweak the question just a little bit and just say what coach is angling for the job, and it's very clearly Dan Mullen.
Yes, yeah.
It's a good one.
Isn't that strange? He's suddenly become a massive Bulldog. Who knew?
He is. Yeah. I mean, he lives basically in Athens now. He's right there.
Oh yeah, Bobby. We need to understand. Is he your neighbor?
Basically, yeah. He's on that same lake as Bobby is.
Yeah, seriously.
That's awesome. And then he had an over-under for us. Over-under Stiquavius references during an in-game broadcast over the rest of the year. I don't know. Do you think anyone will ever pick up on that? Has there been one yet? I don't know that I've seen it.
I don't know if I've picked up on it.
Yeah.
Do you remember when Jake Fromm, every single game, they would refer to the he was in the Little League World Series?
Yes.
At least twice a game.
I love it. Yes, for sure. They tend to do that. Once they pick up on something, they don't let it go. Right? Mm-hmm.
So I think that here's where I think it's going to come into play, and it's because we haven't been on prime time. I mean, obviously Oregon a little bit, but I think that once we have Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler calling the game, I do think that it'll come up with Chris Fowler. I think that would be something that Chris Fowler would talk about. Yeah. So it depends on how the season goes.
Yeah.
Apparently we need RG3. I don't know if you guys, I saw a tweet today, something about it was listing out all the crazy things that RG3 has said on broadcasts so far this year. And it was pretty nuts. So I don't know. Maybe if we get RG3, he'll say it.
I don't think we're going to get RG3.
Yeah. I think we had him last year once. Okay. I think this maybe rounds out our Premier League questions from our friend 51-7 GATA. He says, if Geoff Collins was a soccer coach in Europe, how bad would things be in that country right now if he put up the same numbers that we have seen him put up at Georgia Tech?
Yeah, very bad.
He would be out. He would be done already.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to think of what coach, what coach would you correlate him to right now?
I've got nothing. I'm not going to be any help.
No.
I mean, I'm trying to think. I guess if are we talking about national coaches? Are we talking about national coaches? Or are we talking about Premier League coaches?
Oh gosh, Chris, you've now been introduced to John and his clarifying questions while we're recording. So I don't know.
I'll give you one. I got one. Okay. Chris, you might appreciate this. Italy.
Okay, for national team coaches.
Italy has not made the World Cup in consecutive cycles now, I think. If I remember correctly.
They still managed to beat England in the Euros. Last time out.
Which, by the way, we should have a watch party because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, the Yanks and the old three Lions have we've got a
We're in the same group.
Course, yeah.
I'd be up for that. That sounds great.
Nice. All right, we do have a couple of just like UK type questions. So
okay.
Will Kaplan asks, and this one is specifically for you, Chris. So specifically for British Bulldog, The Who, Led Zeppelin, and the Stones. You have to start one, bench one, and cut one.
It's a tough question, isn't it? I mean, with me, the Stones are the best band out of the three of them. I was lucky enough to see them in Edinburgh a few years ago. And Mick Jagger, I mean, he's got to be in his 70s now, but he's got some moves, man. He's really doing well. It was so impressive.
Can we ask a clarifying question? Are we talking about these bands in their prime?
Ooh.
How about we change the question up and just say these bands in their prime?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because that might make it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna stick with starting with Stones.
Okay.
I think they've got a better back catalogue. You know, benching the Who. You know, with Georgia fans, we love Baba O'Reilly.
Yes.
Probably dropping Led Zeppelin.
Oof. Okay.
It's harsh, you know.
That's okay. Hey, I've got tickets to go see Greta Van Fleet in October, which everyone says is basically like a Led Zeppelin tribute band.
Ooh, nice.
But I happen to like them. They definitely sound like them.
Jim and I have a connection with Led Zeppelin that he may remember from back when we were in college. Do you remember Zoso?
I was just about to say Zoso. You know they're still around, by the way. So
I know. I think I saw them at the Georgia Theater like recently or something like that.
So Chris, Zoso is a Led Zeppelin cover band that used to like tour college towns, and
we would have just like them.
They were really good. But so we were in college back with like David Green and David Pollock, back in late 90s, early 2000s. And like those guys are still around. So they play up here in Concord. They were at like a local place up here like a year ago. And I was like, oh my gosh. So it's pretty crazy. Yeah, that
is crazy. I would agree with your start bench cut.
Yeah.
As well, Chris. Just for the record.
I think that's fair. Late breaking, Fletcher Proctor asks, can we get Guy Ritchie to direct a hype video? Can British Bulldog set that up?
Yeah, I'll have a word.
I'll have a word. Just give a Guy.
That was good.
That was a great question, Fletcher. We were literally recording it. I saw that came in, and I made sure Jim saw it.
Got a little distracted there. All good. Let's see. Zach, SC Dog 864. If knocking on wood, Stetson wins another natty and more awards, even one named the Heisman, is he in the same breath as Herschel Walker years from now?
That's a big question, isn't it? There's a lot of ifs in that question too. If we win another national title, if he wins a Heisman, if he wins both of those, of course he is.
Right. I would agree. John, I think you had something that you had.
I did.
Yeah,
I did. I have news for you guys. He's already in the same breath as Herschel Walker. So you, Chris, are going to be privy to some potential history this weekend.
Okay.
Stetson is on deck for surpassing Herschel Walker in number of touchdowns that he's responsible for. I believe the number is 2. If he scores 2 touchdowns, like throws or runs for a touchdown, then he will surpass Herschel Walker as the. I'm not sure where he's at on the ranking, Jim. To be fair, I'm not sure because Aaron Murray is like 140 something or something like that.
Right. I did know that. Yeah. I'm not sure either. I don't have that, but yeah, I did know Aaron Murray was number 1.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so he's already being mentioned in the same breath as Herschel Walker.
Pretty crazy. Would not have expected anything like that 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean,
you'll get a statue in about 50 years' time.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, I feel like this is going to be one of those like end credits, like in writing at the end of the Disney movie, like he surpassed Herschel Walker.
Right. Yeah. I love it. But where are they now?
Yeah, exactly. He's a senator.
Amazing. So Irk Russell asks, what states does the state of Kent share a border?
That's a good question. It's misleading.
Right.
Is he talking about like Kent, like England?
Well, there is a county called Kent in England, which shares a border with London, Essex, and Sussex. Sorry. But the town of Kent in Ohio, I'm not sure.
I mean, I can tell you what states like the state of Ohio borders, but I don't have anything more than that. But I did love it. Let's see. Brian Michelis said, after a 3-game sample size, is Malachi Starks the defensive MVP so far? And if yes, will he remain it for the remainder of the season?
Good question. What we've seen so far has been phenomenal for a freshman to come in and play like that. I would say he probably is the defensive MVP, but there's a lot of pressure for a player who is so young that I almost don't want to put that on him at this stage.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely made some of the highest impact plays. I mean, like last week he erased the long pass play. The interception against Oregon was phenomenal. And as we've talked about before, like, I mean, I'm pretty sure he leads the team in snaps played for the season because he's been the leading player, like almost every game, or I think he has been every game. My only other, I was trying to think through this. Like the only other person I would say, although he didn't play as much last game, but like Jalen Carter is so good, makes such an impact, and like the line of scrimmage being so important. So he's the other one I would argue potentially as the MVP of the defense.
Yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head there, Jim. Like that's what I'm thinking is like, let us get to the meat of the SEC schedule. When we start playing the Floridas and the Auburns and trajectory. Frankly, Kentucky's the trajectory continues. SEC championship. I want to see the challenge. So I feel like that, like you said, Jalen Carter, I feel like that he's the Jordan Davis of this year because he's eating the space, he's drawing the attention, he's allowing the other defenders along the defensive line to, be able to have those one-on-one matchups, which creates pressure. And that pressure has clearly generated poor throws and, opportunities in the defensive secondary for Malachi Starks to flourish. If that continues, I think he probably would clearly be like, just based on impact, catching interceptions is obviously much better than creating pressure. But I'll be looking to see like what happens as we get into the meat of the schedule to see who the true impact player is. The other thing I'm looking for is we haven't had that moment, and it's been a couple of times since Nakobe Dean. We have Nolan Smith, who's kind of the quarterback of the defense right now. I haven't seen those moments where he's like directing traffic, like you're in the wrong position, get over here. Like I haven't seen.
And we
that
saw
yet.
that with Nakobe Dean. With like, do you remember last year when he's sort of directing Channing Tindall, who was an amazing player, but directing him and telling him what to do.
Yeah,
and I think some of that's because we haven't been challenged. The defense hasn't really been challenged at all.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
I'm a push.
Shocking. Love it. Okay, cool. Let's see. Grandpa Pappy says, why can't the Bulldogs get more night games in Sanford? Actually, was his first question. It's because we want Chris to be able to watch the games during the day, right?
Yeah. I think the TV might have something to do with it as well.
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
No, you finish.
I was gonna say, I think the real answer is that I don't know, like the way TV works now is different, and the 12 o'clock game is not a slap in the face as far as the networks are concerned, like it used to be. This is not Jefferson Pilot. These noon games are on ESPN. It's a big time slot for them, and they make a lot of money when Georgia plays at 12. So that's part of it. It's just the way I mean, it's TV and money. The answer is always money. Right?
Yeah.
That's the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I would say historically, back when you and I were in school, everybody would tune in to College Game Day, and then the noon kickoff would be like, I don't know, Mississippi State and some other, like something on Jefferson Pilot, and
right.
Everybody would leave ESPN and go over to a different channel. They don't want you to leave. They want you to stay. So yeah, exactly. To your point, like they want the prime. They want to keep your eyeballs for the entire day, basically. And that's part of the reason why the SEC gave in to the highest bidder with ESPN, and we no longer have CBS, because the 3:30 game is also valuable as well.
Yep.
They want to keep your eyes until 7:00.
Yep. Exactly.
So yeah, it makes total sense that you see more 12 o'clock kickoffs. But I would also say that it also would help if the SEC East would be a little bit better.
That's a good point. Yep. And
then you'd see the 3:30 kickoffs, and then you'd see the 7:00 kickoffs.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I do like I get it. I get the want for the night games, especially with the new light system and lighting up Sanford at night. It is pretty cool. It is
plus
fun.
The weather and tailgating. Can't forget that.
Right. So, agreed. I do kind of wish so as like a middle-aged man, I don't want them all to be night games anymore like I used to.
Yeah. You want to get home by 8:00.
Yeah. Like I don't so much mind it anymore, but I get it. It is pretty awesome when it happens.
I would ask all of our listeners, and I'm also sitting here listening as I hear, like I'm cognizant of our friends across the pond that are trying to watch these games. So I now okay, well, we have a 12 o'clock kickoff, but British Bulldawg gets to have a normal day. I like
That's right. Yeah. It's at 5:00 for him. Let's see. And then he said, why is College Game Day and SEC Network coverage always a slurp fest of our opponent and not about us? And yes, I have asked them. I'll say this. I actually started to pull up there was an old blog post like years ago, back when blogs were like ruling the internet. And it was basically called, I think the title of it was ESPN Hates Your Team. And so who was like, and it like went through all these things. So the general gist of it, I'll say, is you definitely notice it more when you're watching your team. I think you kind of notice the negative, right? So I think that's a big part of it. But agreed. However, that's my rational side of it, but the reality is I yell at the TV too. With this example.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I don't know. I don't think the ESPN hates our team. I think that there's certain idiots that are pushing a narrative that they clearly haven't watched football, so I'm not really worried about it. All that matters is what happens in January. That's right.
Yeah. Well, I think they've got a producer in their ear telling them to say something too. That's also the reality. Like if one person says one side, they have to counter or whatever. So
these are also the same people that had Richardson from Florida predicted as a Heisman hopeful.
As a Heisman candidate, fair.
He's as much of a Heisman hopeful at this point as you are, Jim.
Yeah, fair. True. Let's see. All right. Last, we have the reintroduction. He's back. Friend of the show. The original friend of the show. The original friend of the show. My one-time college roommate, Tim Raving. Tim was the first person to ever ask us a question. I'm pretty sure. Back in season 1. So Tim says, after what game does #StatTheJet, hashtag set for Heisman, become a real Heisman consideration nationally? His stats are better than CJ Stroud, amongst others. Has it happened yet? I would argue he already is.
I would argue he needs to throw more touchdowns to wide receivers.
Okay.
Because his stats are not better than CJ Stroud's in that regard. If you look at them side by side, I think I sent a text to the thread earlier today, like, hey, which quarterback is which? And, to his credit, John tweets sports. I don't know if he did the research, but yeah, basically you look at their stats and they're pretty much identical with the exception of the touchdown category.
Okay.
CJ Stroud has 11 touchdowns thus far, and Stetson only has 5. And most of that is due to the fact that like he just, I mean, when someone said that, like I had to actually like take a second and look, like, wait,
Yeah.
has he thrown a touchdown to a wide receiver? And the answer is no.
Yeah, yes. He threw one to Lad McConkey in the first game.
Well, yeah, he threw one to Ladd in the first game, but like he hasn't thrown any other touchdowns. Like,
Okay, so that's the only one. Okay.
there's only one touchdown to wide receivers. Like, obviously, you threw a touchdown, but like, you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have the touchdown prowess that CJ Stroud does, which is what the Heisman guys are looking for.
Fair. Okay. Let's see. Oh, and then I don't know if I think we did talk about this. So Tim, I will just acknowledge. He said, "Real question: how many dogs are out there battling kids, volleyball, soccer, football, etc., watching the games on their iPads and phones? The struggle is real. Hashtag miserable in Minnesota." So yeah, I know JP is living that life. So yep, you're not alone, Tim. You're not alone. Miserable in Minnesota. You can have some.
You weren't alone last weekend. You're not alone this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Okay. I don't have the soundboard, but so like insert sound, Coach Chill Bills. So we're using Zoom tonight, so we can accommodate Chris. And I couldn't figure out how to get my soundboard to work with Zoom, so I'll have to look into that. At any rate, okay, it is time for Coach Chill Bills over unders. So over under Stetson Bennett passing yards set at 260. And Chris, we want yours too. We want yours too. So what do you guys got?
I'm going over.
Okay. JP?
I'm going to go over as well on the passing yards.
Okay. I will go over. Let's see. Over, under. And here, we'll go in reverse order. So I'll go first on this one. Over, under. John, just so, because, Coach Trillbill tracks these now, and to make it a fair competition. Over, under, total rushing yards, 125. I assume that means team. I will go over.
You're going to go over?
Yeah.
I'm going to go under.
Okay.
I'm going to go over. I think rushing is something we will be wanting to work on.
Nice. I like it. Okay. Over, under, different players with a reception at 10.
Over.
Okay. Over.
Mm-hmm. Just so that my math will work out.
Amazing. Oh man. See, this is where I could be. John, you missed your opportunity to say push, but
yeah, that's true.
That's okay.
No, I gotta wait until the halves, right?
I know. Right. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna go over. Especially on a game like this. And then we'll move on to the defense. Over, under 1.5 turnovers for the Georgia defense.
I'm gonna say over on this game.
Nice.
I'm also gonna say over.
Okay. Ooh, man. This is where, like, do I try to hedge and fade John? I'm gonna go under. But I want it to be over. I want to be wrong. Over, under 2.5 sacks for the Georgia defense.
Oof. You're first on this one, right?
Okay,
Jim?
I'll go over. I'm gonna go over.
Oh,
that's a lot, though. Ooh, man, I kind of regret it, but I'm gonna stick with it. I said it with confidence. I'm gonna stick with it.
At some point, they've got to hit the over, but I'm gonna go under.
Fair.
Yeah, I'm gonna go under too on this one.
Okay. I feel like I'm going to regret this one. Okay. Over, under 6.5 points allowed by the defense.
Oh, under for me.
Yes. JP, what do you got?
I've got to go under.
Okay. All right. I'll stick with under too.
We're aligned.
Over, under 0.5 special teams touchdowns. We still haven't had a special teams touchdown yet.
I'm going to go under.
Okay. I go over. This is the time. This is the punt return that I've been waiting for. I'm going to go over. Chris, what do you think? You going to see a special team touchdown? Your first game? First game in Stanford?
Yeah, I'm going to go over as well.
I like it. Okay.
Nice.
So this one's interesting. Stadium capacity at kickoff over under 80%. So I will say, here's the only, Chris, just for your knowledge of what can happen with a game like this, is if you've got like a game like an Auburn, I'll just use Auburn as an example, right? Like they get a ticket allotment. And they're going to use all of them, most likely.
Yeah.
with a Kent State, they're probably going to send their tickets back. So the cool thing is a lot of folks get to go to a game like this, local folks. But it's harder to fill the stadium.
And some international folks.
Right?
Yeah,
yes, exactly. Exactly. Good call. So, but for 80%, I'm going to say over. I'll go over. I'm going to slam it.
I would say, how are we tracking this?
Coach Joe Bill is going to be sitting in the stadium. I'm assuming he's going to be counting like this.
He'll be counting every single person.
He's got a good vantage point. He sits right behind me in the section I'm in. He's got a good vantage point.
Because they don't announce it until way later. And I don't know. You can't track this one. I call BS if I'm wrong. I call shenanigans. I'm going to go over.
Okay, there were the same, and now it doesn't matter. Okay, cool. All right, so last up for the predictions. So looking at the spread for the game, Georgia is favored by 44, and the over-under is 59.5 points, which gives us an implied score of Georgia 51.75 to Kent State 7.75.
Has that been updated?
Did it change?
It changed.
I wrote that earlier. So what is it now?
44.5.
Yeah. So sorry. So yeah,
something changed.
That seems low. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So 44.5 is the spread, and 61.5 is the over under. So apologies. I'll update that.
That's what I could have sworn something changed because
Okay. So
I had to refresh the screen and something changed.
Yep. Sorry, I was going by what I had written down to save internet time. So so Georgia is favored by 44.5, and the over under is 61.5. So it's a lot. I guess I can go first. I think again, you just have to go with like the not to be dismissive, any given Saturday, all that kind of stuff. Kirby says it's a good team, but I think the reality is we have so many more better players, and it should be a name your score game. So it's going to be like, how much do the backups play, etc. So I will go with, I'm going to go Georgia. I'm going to go 49-6.
Okay. I'm going to go 50-6.
Amazing.
I'm going to go 56-0.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. That would be awesome.
Coach is looking for a bloodbath. Are you going to stay the whole game, regardless? If you're in a 50?
Of course, yeah. I'll make most of every minute there.
You're gonna check out the alma mater.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. So hopefully we'll need to stay in touch this week. Hopefully we can cross paths at a tailgate or something.
Yeah. Let me know where you are. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be really cool. We appreciate you agreeing to come on too. This has been a blast, and I loved getting to hear your story. I don't know what I expected the story to be exactly, but it definitely wasn't. I saw Game Day in 2014. Like I don't like John was kind of like me, kind of surprised that I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
We could probably talk so much longer about so many other things, but I know that it's about 2 a.m. over there, right?
It's 1:40. My alarm is set till 6 in the morning.
Yeah, we feel so bad. This is my fault. I asked the recording to be delayed. That's my bad.
It's my pleasure.
Are we going to try to do a review to get your take on everything?
Yeah, well, absolutely.
At least while you're stateside, so it's a little bit normal.
That's true. You're going to be here till Monday, right?
I'm here till Monday. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to do some kind of live stream from the tailgate. I don't know. We'll see. Stay tuned.
You got to. I'm so intrigued by this experience. I want to see what happens because I can only imagine.
Oh shoot! You know what? I just remembered. Okay, we'll do one last thing and then we'll wrap up. And John, I don't know if you had this. I forgot. I missed a question that Graham Coffee had. He wanted to know. I guess John, this is for you and I. A list of 3 Southern foods to force British Bulldog to try for himself.
Three Southern foods for him to try.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Which I don't know too, Chris. Like, if
I don't know what he's already tried.
Well, yeah, fair. Like, have you?
Question.
Yeah, is there? I don't know how prevalent Southern food. I mean, like fried chicken. You got to have some.
I've tried. Yeah, we've got KFC in the UK.
Oh, so okay. So we got to get you some. We got to get you some. So we got to get you some traditional Southern fried chicken. That's one of mine. I'm not talking like Zaxby's, Guthrie's or whatever. Like I'm talking like Weaver D's. I'm going to get you over to Weaver D's.
Okay. Okay.
If it's still there.
I think my Airbnb is near a Raising Cane's.
Here we go.
He's gonna get Bring some for Jim.
Oh, seriously. That's too good. That's too good. So that would be one of mine. My other one would just be like I highly recommend like a nice Southern breakfast. So I don't know, like obviously biscuit has a different meaning, but so for what we call as an American biscuit, like a good Southern biscuit is a must. So you can do anything there. And then I'm not saying this is the best food in the world, but Waffle House is an experience.
Yeah.
So I'd recommend
it's cooked in.
I would say that if you do want to experience some good Southern food while you're in Athens, I've talked about it on the podcast before, but that South Kitchen and Bar is a phenomenal restaurant for pretty much anything you'd want, like pimento cheese, fried chicken, all the above. It's a really good restaurant. Not a sponsor yet.
Right.
But yeah, so all right, so I guess we gotta narrow it down to like 3 foods. Like, have you had pimento cheese before?
No. What is that?
I don't even know how to describe it.
I mean, just try it. Just ask somebody.
Okay.
They have it at South Kitchen. I'll tell you that they have a great pimento cheese at South Kitchen.
It's basically, I mean, it's a dip. Like it's a cheesy dip. Okay. I don't really even know how to explain it.
Cheese.
I love that explanation. Just try it. You probably like that. That's what we do for like flat pudding and haggis in this country.
I was just about to say,
don't look at the ingredients. Don't look at the ingredients.
I had to Google that. That's how not worldly I am. I had to Google that when you said that.
I think it is illegal to bring it into the USA still.
It's 1,000% better than haggis or blood pudding.
Have you tried it, John?
Yes, I have. It's way better. It's actually not even on the same spectrum, sir.
Okay.
Incredible.
So I would say that, like fried chicken, and let's see. Have you had fried okra before?
No.
That's another one that I would.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I would classify fried okra because, like most of the other stuff, he's had either variations of or like country fried steak, like he's probably had similar stuff there.
Yeah
I'm trying to think. I mean, they have Chick-fil-A there?
We do not. No.
Well, Chick-fil-A is an easy layup that you can get at the airport. So
that's true. That's true. When you land, you can get that right away.
Yeah, when you land, you can pretty much just get Chick-fil-A right in the airport. I would say that's probably a little bit different, but it's pretty much the same.
Yeah,
that sounds good.
You'll pass a ton of them. You'll be good.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love it. Yeah,
probably have some at the tailgate.
Well, that's true. That's true.
That sounds good. I'll be bringing some whiskey to the tailgate. I don't want to turn up empty-handed.
Nice. That's awesome.
I don't think you have to worry about turning up empty-handed, particularly if you're going to go with Jim.
I respect that. That's usually my philosophy.
Jim, we've totally let him down. He's got to try Panda's bean dip.
Well, that is true. That is true. My mom's famous bean dip trademark is quite good. So I know. Okay, yeah. So now we have to meet up and I have to bring the bean dip.
Yeah. Is your dad going to be there on Saturday as well, Jim?
You know what? Okay, so I've got to talk to him because I actually was going to text him today because we have 6 tickets together and I know my sister and family, I believe, are coming. So we got to figure that out. I'm sure most likely, yes. John loved that question.
Yes. Because like, is your dad, Jim, is your dad there?
John always loves it whenever we're like anywhere and someone's like, is Rip Dog here? And John's like, yes, Jim's dad. I love it. He should be
guy's a rock star.
Right?
Yeah.
He'll be the guy that I mean, John, it can tell you. I mean, we look the same, and we'll be wearing the same hat. Like you'll be.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's basically like
I'll find you. I'll find you.
it's like if Jim were to look in the mirror to the future, like that's exactly what it is.
That's my dad.
Nice.
We look the same.
Oh, shrimp and grits. I know that's another one. I'm like say here running through my Rolodex of like Southern foods you should try.
Well, this is where again I got all excited and messed up the lead into the questions because I wanted to ask your story, but I wanted to give Catherine a shout out because she had asked that, so I skipped Graham's question. That was my bad. But yeah, man, this has been awesome. I'm so glad, like I said, that you are willing and able to join us. We've been following your journey on Twitter, not since the account was created, but since we for a couple of years at least. And I think it's really cool. I don't know, you've got a great story to tell. It's cool. It wasn't what I was expected, and I'm happy for you that it's worked out here, that you've come to this point. That's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable, and it won't seem real until I sort of land in Atlanta. Yeah, if I'm honest, I've still got a day's work to do tomorrow, and maybe then I'll sort of start getting excited. But
yeah,
until that point,
I feel like it's going to be. Have you seen Rudy before, Chris?
No, I know of the film. I know the storyline, but I've never seen it.
Okay. You should check out the scene where it's kind of towards the end where Rudy's dad basically enters the stadium, and it's like, this is the most beautiful sight these eyes have ever seen.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's going to be you. Because he had never, he was a Notre Dame fan all his life, and he had never seen a game in Notre Dame. And that's going to be you. You're gonna walk in. You've been this fan for so long, and like now you're gonna walk in. And it's gonna be like,
yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I'm so grateful. Can't wait.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend to. Well, we can talk about it there too. But like the dog walk is a cool thing too.
I'll be there. Yeah, I'll be. I'm not gonna sleep while I'm there.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah, I think we're going to a Corey Smith concert on Friday night, and I might get 2 hours
is he playing in Athens?
And Friday, on Friday.
Oh man, that's amazing. That's awesome.
So jealous.
That's awesome.
Tickets still available.
Take him to Little Italy. Take him to Little Italy, Jim.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I got to make a recommendation for you. So if you go to the Corey Smith concert Friday night,
exactly.
When you're done, take a right. Is it at the theater?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you're gonna take a right out of the Georgia Theater, and like a block over, there's gonna be a place called Little Italy. You're gonna go in there, and either don't order an entire pizza because it'll take like 3 hours for them to make it. But you can get a slice of pizza, or you can get a sub sandwich. This is a place that opened when I was in college. Or right before, I think maybe a year before. It's they just had, I think, a 25th anniversary or something. But my line is always at all good nights in Athens end at Little Italy. So yeah, highly recommend that place. It's a good spot. Not a sponsor.
Yeah, for sure. Make sure you've had about 15 bourbons before you go there too.
Okay, I can manage that. Don't you worry.
Awesome. All right, Chris. Well, again, I've said this like 3 times, but I'm just so appreciative. This has been a lot of fun to have you on, and we'll definitely have to catch up to see, get a review of not only the game but just your experience. We'd love to hear about it, and like I said, hopefully we are able to catch up there.
Awesome, man.
That sounds great. Yeah.
Thanks for jumping on with us from across the pond, and we'll see you stateside here in just a little while.
Yep. And we usually sign off one way, but I'm going to pivot a little bit and say we got to end with cheerio and go dogs.
Oh, cheerio and go dogs.